Thank you, Senator Hagan. Senator Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General McNabb, we're going to just keep you in a holding pattern for a while. We'll call you if we need you. Appreciate your service. Okay. General Ham, I think you have one of the most fascinating commands in the whole military. And I want to compliment President Bush for creating Africa Command and President Obama for continuing to stand it up. Is really a region ripe with opportunity and heartbreaking all at the same time. The Secretary Gates, I've been told, has instructed the Department of Defense to look for a stateside home for Africa Command to move you out of Stuttgart, and that the leading contender, the most preferred site, was Charleston Air Force Base. Are you familiar with that decision?
Senator, I'm not familiar with the decision. I have direction to assess and make a recommendation as to.
Would you like to live in Charleston?
Sir, I have visited Charleston and enjoyed that visit very much.
Good. We would like to have you. I just want to let you know that that was the preferred site in terms of the assessment, and that the community is willing to provide infrastructure to the Department of Defense to move your headquarters to Charleston so you don't have to do a military construction contract. So all politics is local. So I really do want to talk to you about that potential move. The other issue is that there's $7.6 billion being appropriated through the Foreign Operations Account for Africa assistance. From a commander's point of view, how important are those funds? $4.78 billion for health-related issues in Africa. Could you tell this committee the importance of those funds to your mission?
Senator, I believe that what that enables us to do is, as the military component of a U.S. whole-of-government approach, it allows us to more effectively achieve the U.S. government's desired end states in Africa, consistent with the goals which the President has described, to include health care. Our military component of that is largely focused on building capable, credible military and security institutions, responsive to the rule of law, responsive to civil authority, so that increasingly Africans can provide for their own security nationally and regionally.
And America needs to know we have a very small military footprint in Africa, relatively speaking. Is that true?
Sir, it is very small. Just one, other than the defense attaches in the embassies, it is essentially one location at Camp Lemonade in Djibouti.
So I would just urge the committee to look at the fact that our Foreign Operations Account probably is our most effective tool in achieving stability in Africa and helping the African continent develop in a positive way. So I just want to let that account be known as important from the military's point of view. Now, let's go to Libya. What's the likelihood, in your view, I know you're not the current commander, of the rebels being able, even with the air support provided by NATO today, to fight their way to Tripoli and replace the Gaddafi regime by military force?
Senator, I would assess that as a low likelihood.
I think that's a very honest answer. I would assess it as almost impossible. Now, the AC-130s and the A-10s, are they in the fight or not?
Senator, it is my current understanding is that the AC-130s are provided as a U.S. unique capability, which are indeed available at present to the NATO commander should he need to employ them. The A-10s are part of the on-call package, which the commander would have to request separately.
Is there an equivalent capability within the NATO countries to replace the AC-130, the A-10? Can you replace those capabilities?
So the AC-130 is clearly a unique U.S. capability. No one else has a capability like that. The A-10 has great capabilities, some of which can be replicated or provided by other strike aircraft, but not as a total package like the A-10 can deliver.
Well, I'm going to stand up for Senator Ayotte's husband, who's an A-10 pilot, and she'll be the first to tell you that it's almost impossible to replicate the A-10's impact on the battlefield. Well, if we can't fight our way there, if the rebels can't fight their way there with air cover being provided, how does this end?
Sure, I think it does not end militarily. I think militarily, the present condition with the regime forces and the opposition forces essentially opposed but neither moving.
Could I suggest a scenario where the military part of it may actually help it end quicker. The inner circle of Gaddafi cracking is probably the most likely scenario where people tell him, his inner circle, you need to go. Do you agree that's the most likely way this then ends for a regime change?
So I think that's a likely outcome.
Okay. Would it be helpful in that regard, in terms of putting pressure on the inner circle to make that decision, to take the aerial fight to Tripoli and start looking for targets where the inner circle operate out of and to put pressure on them militarily? Is that within our capability to do if we chose to do that?
Senator, it is, and we have been from the very start attacking targets of regime command and control in Tripoli.
Is that still going on today?
So I believe it is. I know of no prohibition to that, and specifically to the 32nd Brigade, which is, if you will, the regime's inner protective force, was a very specific target for us and U.S. AFRICOM, and I know that it continues to be so for NATO.
Well, that's curious because he's still on TV. Is there any effort to knock him off radio or TV?
Sir, there is. Again, another one of the unique U.S. military capabilities.
Would you agree with me that if he were unable to spread his propaganda and fear through radio and television, he would be less effective in holding power?
Sir, I would agree with that.
Why hasn't he been knocked off radio or TV as of now?
Principally, sir, because of a concern for civilian casualties in the broadcast systems that he uses.
Thank you. Finally, when it comes to putting pressure on this regime, I know we have a variety of strategies, but the idea that the Tripoli targets are being robustly pursued, I think would be news to me because I don't hear any reporting on the ground of targets in Tripoli being pursued in an aggressive manner. Am I wrong there?
Sir, again, I don't have the day-to-day tracking of the battle, but again, I'm not aware of any prohibition to attacking command and control facilities or others in Tripoli.
Last question. Is there a prohibition of going after Gaddafi, the individual?
In the U.S. mission, I expended no effort in tracking him personally or devoting assets to attack him, but there was also no prohibition if he happened to be at a command and control site or some other site that was attacked.
Would you agree with me that if he were neutralized or taken out of the fight through kinetic activity, it would end this whole conflict rather quickly?
Sir, his removal by any means would end this relatively quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.